Hello everyone. Welcome back. Hope I'm audible. Let me know if I'm audible or not in the comment box. Yes. Okay. Okay. So let's get started to this session. Sorry for a bit late. In this session, this is the second session of Android Study Jam. There is already one session we already taken previous week, which was completely basic, and we explain all the introductory part of the Android and what this Android Study Jam is and all the stuff. Uh, Other facilitators from the different campus explain that. So I hope you don't have any doubts on that. But if you still have any doubts, you can put that in the comment box or WhatsApp group, and we will love to answer that question. And before starting this session, let me tell you that what we're going to do in this session. Right, so I'm not going in very basics of Kotlin and Java things because that is already been covered in the last session. And if you didn't understood some concept of it, then that's completely fine. I will put some resources in our WhatsApp group as well for you to understand more concepts of Kotlin. Okay, so in this session, we going to cover uh, how to develop the Android application from the very basics. So we're going to build our own app in this session, and we're going to build the basic stuff like login, register, and how to build UI in XML and other stuff. And if we get time, then we will also do the connectivity with the Firebase and authentication, how all this stuff works. I will also try to include that. Hope we get time to do that because Google only allocated 2 hours for this session. I hope we can do that. So let's start with the session. This session is going to be entirely practical. I'm not going to show you any PPDs or stuff like that, so don't worry. Okay. So at any point, if you think that you have any doubts or anything, just put questions in the comment box, and other facilitator from different campus will surely answer your question. So put that. Okay. So let me just share my screen. Where is the option? Uh, okay. Cool. I hope my screen is visible. So this is the Android Studio software. So through which we develop Android application. Let me just share my full screen instead. Entire screen. Okay. 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 Much better now. Okay. So this is the Android Studio software through which we develop Android application. And in the software, you can use any language like Java or Kotlin to build your application. But in this session, we're going to use Kotlin because that is the recommended language from Google itself. Okay. So today we're going to build the blood donation application. Let me just show you the application that I already built. So the blood donation application is in my uh, GitHub repository. You can see that this is the application that we're going to build today. Or you can see the UI and all the stuff. We'll try to replicate that in our application. Let's see how well I could do that. But yeah, so let me just open the first pre-made project, and then we will create new project from scratch. Okay. So it's currently loading. That means loading all the gradle files and all the stuff. So we have to wait. Uh, to be honest, Android Studio takes a lot of RAM, and that is the one thing that every Android Studio, Android developers hates about Android Studio. I hope they will fix this in the upcoming updates. But let's see. But to be honest, Android Studio gives a lot of power to the developers as well, and that is in suggestions. the null safety and all the stuff included in Kotlin that makes it so powerful, and maybe that is the reason why it's sometimes takes a lot of RAM. I'm not expert in the backend part of how the software works, but yeah, it takes lots of RAM. So we'll just ignore the invalid VSC. That's okay. So let's this project process. So this is the pre-made project that I already made, and we're going to again build this project from the scratch. And in this session, I'm going to include the topics like what is navigation, the types of navigation, then how we build the layouts in XML and all the stuff. And if we get time, then I will also include the Firebase part. I mean, just authentication part. So let's start by creating a new project. So whenever you wanted to create new project in Android Studio, you just have to go to the new section and new project. Now, if you install the Flutter plugin SDK, and then you will get the new Flutter project also. But we are not going to go into that. We'll create the Android project. Okay. So let's create that. Let me just make my screen more big. Let me. Okay, now it's better. I hope you all can able to see it. So let's create a new application. Where in previous session also, Hemant, the other facilitator of Android Study Jam, cover on this text. I hope you understood, but I will just repeat once again. Like whenever you create new projects, you get different options like selecting empty activity or full screen activity, or whether you wanted to create a bottom navigation type activity and all the stuff. So for now, we're going to go with empty activity because we don't want any pre-made code. We will build everything from scratch. So in the next part, we can see that there are two options. Like we can either code our application in Java or in Kotlin. Now you can select either of. It's not a problem. Many suggest that go with Kotlin because that is the future of Android native development. So we are going to select the Kotlin, and that is not the. I mean, if you selected the Kotlin, then it is not the case like you'll never get chance to build in Java. You can do that as simultaneously also. So this is also a good feature that Kotlin provides. I mean, it's compatible with Java as well. So that is a good thing. So I hope great. Here it is. So let me just share my screen again. My application. Okay, here it is. Okay. So whenever you create new application, like whenever you create new project, it will going to take some time to build all this thing in the Gradle and to load all the files. And at starting, you will only see this few lines of codes and one page application like main activity and main activity XML. So if you attended this first session, then you probably know about the what is XML and what is Kotlin. But if you don't know that, then I will just explain you in the short. Like XML is basically the UI part of the application or that page, and the Kotlin is the business logic of your application. Like whatever stuff happens whenever user interacts with the app, that happens because of the Kotlin. Okay, so we're going to see how we can implement our application. And let's first start with the UI part, but let's first let it build completely because it takes time. Hope it is, let's see. Okay, the application is, um, it's still building the project. I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot of time. I wish there was a pause button in the live stream so that I can pause the whole live stream. But anyway, we will wait for a few minutes. Okay. So if you have till then, if you have any doubts, you can put that in the comment box. Okay. Let it build. Till now, till then, let me just show you the course that Android Study Jam have, and let me share my entire screen. Okay. Okay, so if you register for Android Study Jam, then you probably got mail from Google or from our site. And if you didn't started with this course, like this course includes all the basic stuffs of Android development, like Kotlin, basics of Kotlin, then layouts, how we build layouts, and how we connect our application with internet, and how we retrieve the images from the server or any particular location from the internet using different libraries or HTTP and all the stuff. And what are the navigation and all the stuff. So it includes basically everything of the Android development. And I highly recommend to all of the Android and stick to go through all these pathways and units. And in order you to, if you are here to get certificate or anything like that, then I would suggest that you will only get certificate only and only if you complete all the units and all the parts. So make sure you complete all these things. And in my opinion, I don't think it will take more than a week to complete it, because this whole thing is very easy. You just have to go through the course that they made. You have to understand all the things. You have to take the code labs, which is basically a kind of series of documents that they provided you to understand the concepts of Android. Okay, so just go through it. It's so easy. There are some quizzes, assignments. So I'll put this link in the comment bar in the description so that you can complete this course. And this course will also help you to understand and get prepared for associated Android developer certificate. So this certificate is very valid. It's valid for, I guess, some period of time, but it is very valuable in professional world. So if you complete this course, then you will get 80% waive on this certification fees. So I think this is a good chance to learn all these things and get certification and all these things free. So yeah, so I hope that this is completely built. Okay, thank God. Our application is built now. So now we can start building our application. Just to wait a second. Let me just share my screen. Share. Okay. Okay. Hope it is visible now. Okay, so you might be already familiar with this thing, like whole directory part of the Android. In last session, we covered that, but in short, I will explain it to you. Like in the REST folder, it includes all the UI related stuff, like all the colors, strings, attributes, the theme of the application, and all the stuff. In layout folder, it simply contains all the UI activity or files. And in the driver folder, it includes all the XML related images or any stuff that you use in the UI. So it contains that. You can store images into this also. So that is about the Rust folder. And in the Java folder, this app we created in the Kotlin, but still it's showing me Java. And in the Java folder, it includes there are three folders. Like there are three folders: com.xml my application. So in the first folder, it includes all the Kotlin code or whatever your business logic code will be present in this first folder. And the other two folders will include the testing part of your application. Like in the third folder, it will include the unit test of whatever what is unit test. I'm not going to include go into deep of what unit test is, but let me give you the very simple idea of what unit test is. So unit testing is basically a simple, in programmatic way, we define our flow of the application. And whenever somebody change our code from the application or a new feature to it, then we can run the unit test or pre-written test and see if our flow is maintained or not, if it's break or not. Then we can track where it's breaking and why it is breaking. So that is what we call unit testing. And there is another type of testing called instrumentation testing. Now, what is instrumentation testing? Again, I'm not going to go in depth, but in basic, like instrumentation testing, like unit testing is something like in basic, if I wanted to say to you, like it is just checking from program, like whether you put when you put input has 2 plus 2, whether you are getting the output has 4 or not, right? But in instrument, but that is not enough to test your application, right? You also need a user to interact with the application. You don't only want input and output, you wanted to test the working flow of the application too, I mean the user experience of it. So in order to do that, we use instrumentation testing, or we can say emulator testing as well. So what happens in that is that you can actually code the user behavior or the task that you want to perform in the test. And after performing the task, then you can match with the your desired results, and you can check whether it's going in the right direction or not. And if it breaks, then it will tell you that okay, your application is crashing at this particular time. So these are the two types of testing. There are other types of testing, sub-testings also, but I'm not going in deep. We will cover that in the future sessions. Okay. So that is about it. And so let's start with building the application. I just explained directly for 20 minutes. Sorry for that. But okay, let's just start building with our application. Okay, so you already probably know about this whole stuff, like what is split design code. I'm not going to again explain you that. Again, that will cost so much time. But in basic, I will just explain you that code is basically you can see the code XML code of that UI part, and split is basically you can see both of the things simultaneously. And in design part, you can just drag and drop things. So many people prefer this drag and drop thing, but I personally don't like drag and drop. I wanted to customize things from my side. So I love to code in the XML itself. So, okay. So whenever you create an application, it will just show you like hello world. It is sample text that they put, and they will give you the layout, like constraint layout in the basic. So I don't want to make it constant layout. I wanted to make it relative layout. I will explain you what is relative layout in a bit. Okay. So let's make it relative layout. Okay. So what is relative layout? Like there are different types of layout. If you already build applications with other frameworks and other languages, then you probably know about layouts, right? There are different types of layouts like a relative layout, linear layout, and there are like grid layout. So these layouts are basically defines the structure of components that we're going to include under the layout. Like relative layout is basically whatever childs we're going to include in that layout will be relative to each other. Like if I include two childs, like text view and text view. Text view and text view. Let me just copy paste it. Okay, so right now we didn't mention the relativity between both of this child, right? So if I mention here like this child, let me just give you the ID. So in order to identify each child, you have to give it to the ID, right? So let's give ID text one for now. Let me just give it to text one, and let's connect this second child to the first child by saying that child below layout below text one. So now here you can see. I hope this is visible. Let me just zoom in a bit. Okay, so here you can see that this child is now at the bottom of the first child. So that is what relative layout means. I mean, it's relative to each other. So all the childs we going to include in the relative layout. We have to mention its relativity with other childs. Okay. I mostly prefer the linear layout because it's easy to code and all the stuff. Okay, so let's start first with let's not create that. I want to create login and register pages. So let me just create a simple folder, Android directory, not this one. To this, I guess. Okay. Uh, pages on. Let's call it on. I wanted to create login and the register page, right? So let me just create two different activities. So whenever in Android you have to create that, whenever you need to create the activity, all you have to do is right click on whichever folder you wanted to create the activity and then go to the new. And in the activity, you can see different types of activity as we seen in the starting of making new project, like empty activity, basic activity, fragment view model and all the stuff, right? So right now I wanted to I can select login activity as well, but it includes so much junk of code that I will probably not use. So I will choose the empty activity because I don't need that kind of code. Generate layout file. Yes, we wanted to generate the layout file and code scene. Okay. So over here, you can see you can click on launcher activity so that it will make your activity as a launcher activity, but we don't want it to do that. So let's go and create. So, okay, I think, oh shit. I think I have to undo this because I forgot to name it. Okay, so let me just undo all these things. Okay, so let me just create the activity again. Empty activity. Login page and load the file system. Changes. Yes. Okay, now it will again build our whole application. Okay. Okay. Now we created a new activity. Again, you can see that it's completely white. It doesn't include anything, just a constraint layout. So now I will create another activity called register page because we need that as well. The activity is register page. Finish. Hope it doesn't take time. Okay, fast. Okay, now we will create the what I say, the UI part of the application. This login activity first, and then we will move to the coding part of it, like the backend part. So, so where's the UI? Okay, so first of all, I will just convert this constraint layout to relative layout. As I already explained, I wanted each and every child within this activity to be relative to each other. So I will just convert that first. Okay, then we will create a linear activity in the relative activity. Like we want two text box in our login activity. So we will create two text box, one above and one below. So we'll create a linear activity. Right. So it's lagging too much. Let me just fix my RAM issue. Pardon me, just give me 5 minutes and I will fix this RAM issue. Okay, so I just reopened my Android Studio. It was just uh, cat problem, so I could clear all the stuff, and now we are back. So we will just first create the linear layout, and in the linear layout, we will first of all, whenever you create linear layout, you have to mention that whether you want to make it vertical or horizontal, so that it will arrange all the child in linearly accordingly. So let me just give its orientation, and we want it vertically one by one. So in linear layout, we need another linear layout, like two linear layouts, one for folding text and another for folding our text views. So let me just create another linear layout and match parent, wrap parent. So match parent, wrap parents are basically whether it's with you wanted to match to the its parents or not. So that's self-explanatory. So in this linear layout, we have to give two options. In the first linear layout, we have to give the two options like whether user wanted to go to the login part or the register part. So I will make it a text view for now, but you can make other things, buttons as well. But for now, I will just make it text view. So let me just give a brief of two, and let me just create a text view first, and I will give it way to login, right? And the other one has wrap and section as register. Okay, so we created two text views. Let me just wrap this up. You have to give the weight one, and over here also you give the weight. Okay, so now you can see there are two options for the user to select. One is login and one is register. For now, it is just a text view, so user can't interact with it. But in some time, we will just create more functionality to it. Okay, so let me just include this thing. Like, for saving your all of your times, I will just include my pre-made code here. So I think I didn't include the colors. Let me just see. White, black, green, purple. Okay, so we need this color also. So let me just include this color. Okay, good. So now we have colors. So now you can see there are two options for the user to select. One is login and one is register. You can select through user through that. Now we will create another just wait. Okay, we will create another linear layout in which we will include all the text view part. So I'm just creating multiple linear layouts to make it separate. Okay, so I also wanted to give a logo to it, like each login screen. Most of the login screens have logos, so let me just give a simple logo to it. Match parent, again, grab content. Maybe we don't need to give grab content here. Let's see how it looks. And our launcher activity. Okay, so we will increase the height of it by 400. It's way too much. 200 is yeah, fine. Let me give the padding. So padding is basically like you wanted to give the spaces from all the parts, but I wanted to give it to the 20 dp. So yeah, it looks fine. Then we will create another linear layout to include our texture part. Again, here also we have to give our like orientation, whether we wanted to keep it horizontal or vertical. So as I said, we wanted to keep it vertical. And then in this linear layout, we wanted to include three things like first is text view. This is a login activity, right? So we expecting that user is already registered and he just wanted to insert the email ID and the password. So we will only have three sub object in it, like first is email, second is password, third is the login button. So let me just create each thing. Like in order to create edit text, you just have to type edit text and it will create a sample code for you. And let's do that. Then if you have to give the hint to the edit text, then you can give that like enter email, something like that. Right? So let's create the copy of this edit text again because we also wanted edit text for password. So yeah, password. Okay. And let's create one more button to this. We want button, right? So we'll create the button, match parent, wrap content, and and I wanted to give button color to like coloration. Let me just give background to color primary. I think it's primary. Okay, primary dark. Let's use primary dark. And I wanted to give the text as like login. Okay. Let's give some padding to it, like 20. Padding will include spaces from inside, and if you wanted to give spaces or some space from outside, then you have to include the margin. So let's include margin in it. Okay, good. Now we included all the stuff. What we left? Yeah. So login with we are agreed with that. Then there is another part I forgot to include in it is the image view, like last few images. Yeah. That is a pre-made code, but I just don't want to include that yet. So let's keep it simple, like what we have right now. Okay. And we also need to include the login ID to it, right? So let me just include login ID and login ID, each ID to each widget. I mean, not widget, sorry, each component. So, so let's give email text ID, okay, and over here also we give edit text password ID. So password ID, okay, and over here we'll give like login button ID. Good. Now we kind of made a simple UI for our login page. It's not a perfect UI, I know that, but I just wanted to make it this whole coding part quick, and I don't want you to waste most of your time. So let's just test our application and how it looks. So okay, let's see. Okay, so before that, we have to make our this login page has a launcher activity. So in order to do that, you have to go to the Android manifest file. Okay, so in the Android manifest file, you can see that there is a register activity, right? So in the register activity, you have to put your this code. You have to put the intent filter code. So let me just put that. Okay. I think my screen is not visible. Oh, sorry. So let me just clear my screen again. Okay, cool. So over here you can see that there is a login page, and we wanted to first open our login page. But okay, so let's first open our login page. I wanted to open first the register page, but anyway, in order to make your login page has opening page, all you have to do is that you have to include this particular code into this the brackets. So that's all you have to do. Okay. So let me just include that. Okay. Again, it's not showing my screen. I don't know why. Maybe I mistakenly clicked on. Okay. Hope it is visible now. Okay, so we started building our application and we'll just run the application. Let's see what is the error. It's saying that E unresolved. What's the problem? Let me just see. Okay, we forgot to include the library. No worries, we'll include it now. Okay, I think now we are good to go. Oh, for creating a login page, we need 50 minutes. Still, I tried to do it pretty fast. In the register part, I will just include the pre-made code so that you don't have to waste most of your time. I don't want it to waste your most of your time. So I will include the pre-made code in the login part. Okay, so activity is launched. Okay, so you can see that whenever the activity launch, it opens the login page, and that is because we included this intern filter code into our login page activity. So in a manifest is basically like a blueprint of our application. It includes all the information related to our application, like what permission it's requiring, what types of activities it contains, what are types of that activities, what is the logo, name, and all the stuff, and everything. It is basically the blueprint of our application. So I think my phone is not visible. Let me just share my phone screen. Okay, so here you can see that whenever our application launch, it directly open this login page. Here you can put email and password and all the stuff, and you can click on login button and then you can log. Now, currently this activity is not responsive. It is not handling the user inputs. So in order to do that, we have to take help from Kotlin. We have to do that with Kotlin and Java. Currently, we only going to use Kotlin. Okay, we will cover the Java part some in the future or something. But currently we will only include the coding part. So let's see the backend part of it. Let me just share my screen again. Okay. So before that, let me just quickly make the register UI for this. Again, I'm not going to do it by myself again. I don't want it to waste all of your time. I will just copy paste my pre-made code and I will remove some of the part that will not going to include in this. Just remove these parts. This is not required in our code. Okay, so let's give this color primary dark. Cool. Register button. This is very big button. I think I can. Anyway, let me. Then I don't want to give any background to this. Let's remove that. Let's remove this. So what I did basically here is that I just created, I did exactly same what I did in the login page. Like I just created the linear layout. Then in the linear layout, I created another linear layout which is just a horizontal in orientation, and I included two child objects. And after that linear layout, I created another linear layout which includes the image part. Let me just give some image to it. Let's give our launcher. Okay, and let's make it height 200 so that it looks good. Good. So that's it. We included image, logo of our application, some text views, and then there is register button. So now let's make it a little interactive. Like for now, I will do activities, transaction like from if user clicks on a register button, then he or she will go in register activity. If user clicks on login button, then it will redirect to the login page. So that is what we'll do now. So let's do that right now. Okay. So let me just open the Java code of login page and let's just switch the application as well. Okay, so in the login page, I guess we only have two edit text, right? Okay, yes, we have two edit text. So let's just create two variables for storing the values of the edit text. So email, right? So string and whatever value we contain, like let's suppose blank email, and then another we are going to like that password, right? So let's just include password, and this is also going to be string. Yes, this is also going to be string, and let's make it empty for now. Okay, so we will use this email and password attributes later in this development, but for now let's just uh, do our activities transaction feature. So for now, let's just wait a second. Okay, so in the login page, where is the login page? I think we set it like text register something. We didn't give any usage. We have given everything. So let me just use that over here. Anyway, we'll use find by BYD. Okay, find by BYD. Then like we are expecting it to be text view. So let's just use that text view, and then we wanted to make it on set list. So let's do that. Set on click list. Okay. So now whenever user clicks on register text, then this function will be called. Right now we didn't included anything in this, so we will whenever user clicks on register button, we will just redirect user to the register page. So how we can do that? So in order to do that, you have to use the intent feature of Android. Like you have to use the intent class. Through intent class, you can redirect. You can take user from one activity to the other activity. So let me just show you how. You have to create new instant class. That will be. Let me just include this new input class test, and there is like you have to go, this is basically you are referring to this particular class, and you have to go to other activity, like in this case we wanted to go to the register activity, register page. So we will say that we wanted to go to the register page, right? So let me just give register page as a class dot java. So this is like a basic syntax of it, and yeah, that's all you have to do. And you can also you have to save this and like a variable. So let's call it int. Okay. So after saving that into the variable, then you have to start a new activity calling the start activity. So start activity is basically call the end. It will basically run that particular end variable. So whatever we wrote in the end, it will just execute that. So let's see how it performs. Let's see how it works, right? So let me just share my share my Android device to you, with you all. Okay, so it is now loaded. Now we have to test whether whenever we click on register, it will redirect to register page or not. So let me just test. Okay, so it is doing what we code for it. Like whenever user clicks on register button, it will just redirect user to the register page. Cool. So that is about how you can move from one activity to the other activity in Kotlin. You just have to write two codes, two lines of code. You can do that this in one line of code also. You just have to include this particular line in the bracket of this. And okay, I was not sharing the screen again. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So, in order to go from one activity to the other activity, you just have to include this particular code, and then you can also, directly include this line into this line. So, you can do either way. So, I think that is it for this part, like login activity and making application from scratch. So the first part is finished. In the second part, we will see how to connect our application to the server, to any server like Firebase or anything. We will see how to connect our application to the Firebase in the next part. I think we should take 5 minute break for now. If you have any doubts, any queries, just put that in the comment box. I will take 5 or 10 minutes break for now, and then we will start connecting our application to the server, and then we will do the registering part through this. Okay, so yeah, you can go, you can put every comment your queries in the comment box. So, okay. So let me just sign off for 10 minutes. Okay, so welcome back. Hope I'm audible. Okay. Okay, so now we will do the remaining part of the login and register UI part. Like currently we only did like uh, from uh, redirecting our one activity to the other activity, and we only created the UI part. But we haven't done the validation part, like the whether checking whether the email is right or wrong and all the stuff. So that is what we're going to do in this part. So let me just make my Wi-Fi strong. Okay. Okay, so let's start with validation of login activity first. We will what validation is like if you already did some programming in web or any other domain, then you might already know that what validation I'm talking about. It's basically checking whether the user put correct input or not. So that is what we're going to do here. So let's just start. First, we'll start by whenever user clicks on. Let me just clear this thing. Okay, so whenever user clicks on login button, that is the time when we have to do the validation part. So let's find our view by using this function as view. Find by view and let's give it name. Let me just use the package and then we click this button, login button, and then we will set on get listener. Listener. Okay. Okay, now this is where we have to do the validation part. So right now, first we have to retrieve whatever user gave us input. So let's just retrieve that in our pre-made uh, pre-made variables, and that is email and password. So let me just text view ID or email. Edit email. I hope this is what our ID of email is. Let me just see. Edit email. Yes, edit email and edit password. So you have to make sure that whatever you are putting in the ID is exactly correct to your edit view, and then only it will return the correct one. So we have to retrieve this into the text forms, like text to string. Okay, hope it does the work. And then one more attribute we have to retrieve, like file so text view and password text to the string. Okay, so now we have both of our inputs. Whenever this button click, it will just fetch both of this input, and then we have to do our validation part on it. So what we have to do is that we will make a function called validate this input, and if the output of this function is true, then we will let user go or register with the application or log in with the application. If it's not true, then we'll just simply toast and show the message to the user that hey, your whatever your input is not valid, it's invalid. So that's what we'll do. So let me just create if, and in if I will just create a function that we'll call validate, which will return true or false. So it's a pre-made function, I guess. So I'm not going to include that. Let me just rename a little bit. Validate email and password. Okay. So email and password. So let's just give that password. Okay, let me just create another function called email and password. Validate email and password. Over here we can give email and its data type will be string. Then there will be password. Its data type will be a string. And in return, we are going to take boolean. So over here we going to mention that. So we're going to take boolean in return. So yeah, that is the whole function. Let me just put uh, exclamatory mark over here. If you are wondering that why we are putting exclamatory mark in both of this, is because it is a feature of Kotlin that Kotlin don't want to invoke anywhere in the code to prevent the null pointer exception. So over here you can see that we mentioned that our variable is banned. That means it's immutable, and we also included that our variable can be null. So this semicolon mark is basically meant that our variable can be null in the program. So over here we are checking that whether it's null or not. If it's not null, then only it will execute. Otherwise, it will not execute. So this is very good way to prevent the null pointer exception. Okay, so in this function, we're going to do some checking with our input, and if that checking is correct, then we will allow our user to get into the application, get into our main page. Otherwise, we will just discard the user. So let's just see. Let's just return, and we will use when statement here. So when is basically like switch else statement, if else statement. It is just in Kotlin we use when instead of switch. You can use that, but in Kotlin we use that. So we will check first email whether email is valid or not, whether he or she put correct email or not. So in order to do that, we will use pre-made library in the Kotlin. So that checks the pattern library, which checks whether email is right or not, and all this stuff. So we'll use the pattern matcher. We'll put our email into it, and we will check whether it matches to a result or not. Right. So let me just create that. Okay. So over here, if email is not uh, if email is not valid, then we will run this code like we will run this close message by saying that please enter a valid email, right? So over here you can see that we put exclamatory mark. That basically means if this particular thing doesn't match with our original email, then only we will execute this uh, toast message. Then again we will include one more test, I mean one more check to password. If password password dot length is smaller than 6, I mean if our password is smaller than 6, then we will execute this line of code, which is basically means like we will just basically show to the user that hey, you have to make your password more than 6, at least 6 characters. So let's just say that password must be 6 or more characters. Okay. So over here you can see that we are returning false. Here you can see that return well, and these are the conditions that we are checking. And if both of the conditions get false, I mean, if they are not true, then in that case, our code, I mean, our user input is valid. So what we'll do is that else, this is the default part. In this case, we'll just return true. So that is the basic function of validating whether our input is right or wrong, right? So let me just show you. Uh, Now, whenever if your user input is valid, then what we have to do is that we have to log in that user with that credential. So right now, so let's start with the Firebase part. Let me just create a sample function for logging that user, right? For login user. Okay, so we'll take one email, which data type is going to be string, and we'll take another email, which data type is going to be password. Okay, so let's make in order to use the Firebase service, you have to first connect your application with the Firebase. So so now for this session, I don't want to make it so complicated. I will just include the login part of it, like how we can log in our existing users to the Firebase. So let's start with the Firebase. Now, I assume that most of you already know about Firebase, but in case you don't know, Firebase is basically this a part of the Google which provides many services for developers, for web developers, for Android developers, for ML developers. They provide services for authentication, for storing data in NoSQL format, in document formats. They also provide services for developers to store their image and document and all the different types of data into the Firebase data storage. So let's start and let's see what different services Firebase provide and how we're going to include this authentication service in our application. So let's do that. Let me just share my screen. I will just share entire screen for this. Okay. So let me just show you the Firebase. Okay. So you just have to go to the Firebase, search Firebase, and you will see the first link. Just click on that. And whenever you have to create the new account, if you already have the Google account, then you don't probably need to create the Firebase account because it's just things. Then whenever you come to this site, just click on go to the console, right? So go to the console. This will open your console account, and over here, if you are new, then it will probably show no projects. But if you already made few projects, then it will showcase your project. So in order you to create your new project, all you have to do is that create a add a project, and over here you have to give name to the project. Now this is the one good thing that I like about Firebase is that it's too easy for for users to make their projects and get started with this cloud thing. So Firebase makes things so easy for beginners. So let's just select an account, default account for Firebase, create account, then we create the project. We are currently creating this project in the Firebase. Okay, so we have to do the login part. We will also see how we can create a sample this. Let me just share. We will also create the sample user in the Firebase. I mean, in this whole project. So over here you can see that whenever you create new project, you will get to see different services listed over here. Hope you can see that. Okay, so let me just see if my Wi-Fi is. Just give me a bit. Okay, okay. So in order to connect your application with the Firebase, all you have to do is that you have to go to the let me just share my account. Okay, I hope it is visible. Okay. So whenever you create new project, whenever you create new account, you have to go to the tool parts of from Android. You can connect your application from Firebase also, but this is the easiest way to do that. So you have to go to the tools account, then in the Firebase section, then this whole new tab will open and it will just show you different services. Let it load first. Okay. I hope all the services are visible. Okay, so you can see that there are different services that we can use, and currently we only need the authentication part of the service. So we need the login, sign in, and all the stuff. So in order to do that, you just have to click on that service. Then you have to click on connect to the Firebase. Then it will redirect to the web, and it will connect your application to particular project. Now, in this case, we wanted to connect our application to test project that we just created. Let me just show you. Mm, Okay, so I hope I'm audible now. Okay, so whenever you click on connect, it will open the web view and it will show you different projects that you created. Then you can choose any of the projects. In this case, I'm selecting test. And whenever you click on test, it will start loading and start connecting your application to that project, as you can see here. And then it will show that your application is successfully connected. Let me just connect it, and and it's still connecting. So yeah, your application is connect. Now we can close this application, and if we refresh this page, then you'll get to see that our application is now connected. And over here you can see that there is a name called com example dot my application. So that indicates that our application is successfully connected to the Firebase. And over here also you'll see. Now what you have to do is that you have to, in order to use the authentication services, you have to include this basic services by clicking on this button. So let me just share my. Okay, so I included this basic libraries that it Firebase recommended, and then when you include those libraries, it will start building all these things. So you have to patiently wait for it, right? So let's just wait for some minutes. It's building all the libraries and including all the basic necessary stuff from the Firebase. So then we can include the Firebase libraries in our code and we can start doing the login part. So till then, let me just show you. the the Firebase part, like the Firebase part, like what how we can include the authentication and all the stuff. So so in order to enable authentication for the users, you have to go to the authentication section. Then you have to click on Get Started. From there, you can just start your authentication service. Over here, you can see that there is different types of ways you can let user log in. Like you can use Google service, you can use Facebook plugin for login your user in. You can use GitHub, but for now we are just using email and password. So let's just enable that and save. So now our login authentication with email and password is enabled. Now we can start building our user feature. So in this session, I'm not going to include the registering part of this authentication. I will just include how to log in pre-existing users. So that is the thing we're going to do. So let me just include new user to it. Let me just include like Jadhav Akshay0701 and let's give a simple password like 12345 6. So this is how you can include a user from your server to your server. Now I will code my login page so that we can log in into as a Java Akshay account. So let's do that. Let's go to, let me share my screen again. Okay, it's visible, I guess. Okay, so I hope I already made the file login function. Yes. So whenever our user inputs are valid, all you have to do is that just put login user and then you have to pass all the valid uh, all the valid input that we got. So password and all the stuff. And again, we have to mention that it is not null. So this is the feature of Kotlin, which I find personally interesting, right? So in order you to use the Firebase auth services, you have to first declare the variable called Firebase auth. So let me just declare that. Let's call it late init. So late init is basically like you are mentioning that we will initialize this variable after some time. So that is the basic definition of late init. So let's give its data type to something Firebase auth. Yes. Okay, so let's initialize the auth on start method. So whenever user opens our application, we will initialize this variable. So let's just initialize on start, and we will first see we will get instant from the Firebase of this auth function. So how we can do that by using the Firebase of get instance. So that is the thing. Okay. And one more thing we have to do here is that okay, first let's initialize the thing and then we'll start. Then we will do the resting. Okay. So in the login part, we just have to use the auth dot sign in with credentials. Sign in with email and password. You can use any of this, like sign in with credentials, sign with email and password. We have email and password, so we will sign in with email and password. So let's do that. And on success, on add complete listener, we will use on add complete listener. Let me just complete listener. So whenever our login activity or whenever our sign in process is finished, then this listener will call and it will provide us the parameter called task that we will use to check whether our login task is finished successfully or not. So let's just do that. It's it, I guess. Yes, it is it. So successful, if it's successful, then only we will allow our user to get into our main activity. So we can do that by using just by using our, let's just show user that you successfully log in by using the toast method, like toast dot make text, then test for giving the context, and then we will use the login as let's see, we have to retrieve the user ID as well, right? So let's just retrieve that. So user is equal to or dot current user. So now we can use this as a user to show user email. So let me just show you how we can do that dot email, and over here let's just give, okay, those dot length long, and yes. And now we have to give, now we have to show, now we are already shown the toast message. Now we have to redirect our user to the main activity. So in order to do that, again, like we did in the previous ways, we just have to copy paste this and we have to call the main activity. Now our main activity is basically the home page of our activity. So let me just do that activity, and this will call our this will redirect our user from login page to the main activity. So I hope this well works. Now let's test our application. Let's test our entire application in this. Now till now we what we did is that we created the UI parts. We created we validate our user inputs. We also learn how to redirect to user from one page to the other page. We learn how to connect Firebase with our application and how to enable authentication service for our application, and how to log in our user to the Firebase. So in next part we'll see that how to register our user, how to store data and all the stuff. Let me just show you the output of what we did today. So it's still building now. Let me just share my entire screen. Okay. So hope it is visible. Yeah. So we will log in with the credentials that we put in the Firebase previously. So yeah, I think yeah. So let's see. It's still building. It was a big session. Till then, we test the application. If you have any doubts, you can put that in the comment box, and our other facilitator will just answer them right there. So just put that. Okay, so it's installing. Now it will just render here. Okay, so we got our application. Now let's test whether it works perfectly or not. Okay, so let me just see whether it will work or not. What you have to do is that you have to put Sada Bakshar 0701@gmail.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6. That is the password, I guess. So let's check whether it runs or not. And yes, it perfectly works. It log into our device, and you can see it's log into the main activity, and we created two hello world in the activity. So it's absolutely working fine, and I'm so happy for it. Okay, so right now we did this much thing. As I already said, we seen how to create a UI, basic UI pass. Let me just pay create a text. Okay. So till now we've seen that how to create a UI part, then how to validate our user imports and all the stuff. And we also seen how to connect our Firebase with our Android application and how to use the authentication part. So we pretty much cover all this part, and we also cover the what types of layouts, and we also use different layouts in our application. So in this session we included many of the things, and I will try to include more things in the upcoming session. So I hope you all like this session, and this is it for today, I guess. And it was a big session. Like we are currently one and it's been 1 and 40 minutes. 140 minutes. I don't know. I mean, my maths is weak, but anyway. But I hope you all enjoy this session. In the next session, I'm going to include the basics of how to, how to push your documents and data to the Firebase server and all the stuff. So stay tuned for those sessions. If you have more doubts, just put that in the comment box, and I will love to answer that. Okay. So I will now sign off for today, and after 5 minutes I will close this stream. Thank you very much.